What is up, Nickel City Mafia? Welcome to the show. We got a fun one for you tonight. We've emptied the backfield. We're going 5 wide tonight. This is the first time in Nickel City Mafia history. We got all the creators from the channel right here. We're going to bring you a great show about the NFL. We're going to go division by division. I'm going to throw it around the guys. I got the easy part of it tonight. I just get to throw it to the guys, have them give all you the information. I got to keep them in check so they don't talk too long, because with these many guys and the way they love football, we could keep you into the wee hours of the morning if we didn't have some checks and balances. So again, like I said, we're going to get into each division, talk about who we think the best team is, who could possibly still make a run within that division, who possible wild cards might be, and then at the end, we'll kind of bring it all together with who we think the AFC and the NFC champ's going to be, and then who's going to host or hoist that Super Bowl trophy. So a lot of good stuff. I'm going to introduce the guys when I throw it to them. Before I do, let's see here. I want to give some folks a little bit more time to get in. Normally we have a little countdown. It notifies folks. So I'm going to throw it to Jake real quick for just a Josh Allen update.
Sure. Yeah, so today we heard from Sean McDermott at 12 p.m. Eastern at his normally scheduled press conference time that Josh Allen is day-to-day. And he didn't give us a whole lot to work with, but he said he's day-to-day. They asked him if he's going to play, and he said, quote-unquote, we'll see. So I have a theory. He was not at practice. He said he was not going to practice today. Apparently there's some doctor out in L.A. who can do something with, like, his blood and, like, shoot him up and make all that pain in his elbow go away. I don't really know what the treatment involves, but I have a theory that he left, flew secretly to L.A., got shot up, because there were a lot of pictures taken at practice. Guess who wasn't in any pictures, Mike? The man, the myth, the legend, Josh Allen himself. So, yeah, we'll see. You know, I'm obviously hopeful that he plays. If not, I have come to terms with the fact that Case Keenum may be our guy this weekend, which I'm all right with, because it's a revenge game. We got 2 back-to-back potential revenge games for Case Keenum if he has to start both games. So we shall see. Cheers to everyone watching out there. We're doing old fashions today. It's not game day. Beers for game day. Old fashions on off days. Cheers, guys.
And nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. Yes, I'm kind of with you there. I think they're going to probably, based on how they've been treating other players' injuries, the Bills, that is, I don't believe they're going to play him this week. That's just me. Again, you never know with Josh Allen. He's a different beast. I think you call him an alien, Jake. He
is an alien.
So
yes.
He's from another planet. All right, so we got some folks in the channel now. Hey, if you're new to the channel, please like, comment, and most importantly, smash that subscribe button. We always like to say, drop a nickel on that subscribe button. So we greatly appreciate you. Anyhow, so let's get into this. And we're going to start with the division that I think at the beginning of the season, many people thought it would be the AFC East would be the AFC least, but they are now the AFC beast. And there's nobody better qualified to talk about this division than my good friend, my co-host on all our Bill shows, Mr. Jake Podger. Let me throw it to you. Talk to us about that AFC East.
Yeah, it is insane. Every single team in that division has a winning record right now. We got the Bills sitting on top still at 6-2. They're also on top of the AFC. Just want to rub it into you guys a little bit there. We're feeling pretty good, but not that great, especially after a Jets loss, a game that we thought we should have probably blown them out in. We left a lot of points on the table in that one, and it just sucks. Obviously the Jets, they're coming up in second place in that division, which is absolutely wild. And then they got the Dolphins at 6-3. And then you got the Pats at 5-4. The Pats are still sneaking around out there. I don't think they're that great. They've been very beneficial with their schedule. They've faced a lot of teams that Bill Belichick is able to figure out. He's able to, take advantage of these rookie quarterbacks and these younger guys that just don't really know what he's going to do. So the Pats are still hanging around. They're still well coached. And listen, I know Matt Patricia's the OC there, but hey, they're still getting it done. So, yeah, it's a very interesting division. You go to kind of rewind back to the beginning of the year. The Bills were the clear-cut dominant team, right? And I feel like the gap has closed a little bit. I'm not saying the Bills are not the best team still in the AFC East or the AFC in general, but I do think that the Dolphins, obviously, they are for real. Mike McDaniel has done a tremendous job there, and they are currently sitting in third place right now. But I'll tell you what, I really think they're the second best team in this division. The Jets have a very good defense. That offense is very suspect. Yeah, they ran the ball super effectively against the Bills last week, but I'll tell you this, man. I think the Dolphins are definitely our biggest threat. But kind of going back, as I mentioned, to the beginning of the year, you look at how the Bills came out, absolutely dominated the Rams, dominated the Titans, and then they lose to Miami in it was the hottest. I was at that game, and that was the hottest football game I have ever been a part of in any way, shape, or form, whether I'm a fan, player, on the sidelines, whatever it may be. That was insanely warm. I was in the stands in a shaded area, so I can only imagine how those guys were feeling out there on the field. Still only lost by 2 points, had multiple chances to win with a banged-up team. We've been banged up all year long. And then, we came out and dominated the Ravens the next week, so that felt pretty good. And I'm not going to – and listen. Started off real rough, but that second half, pretty incredible, guys. It was a great comeback, and I got the report from Rick that and Chris, you guys were both there, right? So I got the report from you guys that it sounded like there are a lot more Bills fans there than Ravens fans, which is kind of fun. And I'll tell you this, man. I mean, I was feeling really good after that win. That was a real hard-fought win, and I think that was the biggest thing, going into that matchup was that the Bills couldn't win the close games. We just lost a really close game to the Dolphins. Then we go out, we almost lay an egg against the Ravens. The Ravens instead laid an egg in the second half because we made some serious adjustments. And it wasn't pretty by any means, but we got it done. And I'm really sorry for Chris and Rick because they then had to wear Bills gear. Chris, didn't see any Bills gear on you, but I did see it on Rick wearing the Mario Williams jersey in the fantasy football show the one day. But, hey, I'm not going to say too much more about that. Then we come out, we beat the Chiefs. I mean, we were looking good. I mean, and the last couple of weeks here, we played the Packers, obviously got a win, and then we lose to the Jets. And the last 6 quarters of football for the Bills have been extremely suspect. So it does, for me, I think it definitely kind of humbles me as a fan, first off. I feel like I am still on my high horse for sure, but it makes you almost take a step back and not take other teams for granted. So while I do still think the Bills are on top of the AFC East, I do think the gap is closing a little bit. And, it really is any given Sunday more than any other year I've ever seen in football. So I don't want to take too much time here, but I will say this. I think my surprise team in the AFC East is definitely the New York Jets. They came out. I mean, they're already at the win total I thought they were going to have all season long at 6-3 right now. So I don't know what the hell they're doing, but that defense is playing incredible. They got 2 young corners that are absolutely crushing it. And shout out to Robert Saleh, man. He was taking receipts. He said they were coming for blood. And, man, what a tremendous job he's done. And it's so interesting because you look at these teams in the AFC East and look at all the quarterbacks and whatnot, and I feel like there's not really – and listen, Tua's playing great football right now. I think he is a very good quarterback, but I'm still not going to consider him like a top 5 guy in the league by any means. Josh Allen, I still think, is the best quarterback in football. But we're barely leading this division right now. So it is going to be very intriguing to see what happens as the weeks go on here. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'll let you guys comment on it if you have anything. But AFC East, man, I think it's still wide open, and the Bills need to win the division games in order to get to that Super Bowl that we are all expecting.
All right, so you're leaving it wide open, or are you saying the Bills are still going to be the team to win this division? Because
I don't know.
I want to put you on the spot there. You got to tell me. Each one of you are going to tell me who's going to win this division, who you think is going to be. I mean, maybe the runner-up there as well.
It does concern me obviously with Josh's injury. If we have Case Keenum as our starting quarterback for the next 4 weeks, because I've heard some reports that it could be 3 to 4 weeks. It could just be one game. So I think it really does depend on what happens here. And we were sort of talking in our Discord about if we can go at least if he misses 3 games or whatever over these next 3 games, we could very well go 2-1, maybe lose to the Vikings because they're the best team out of the 3 teams we're playing. And then Josh comes back and we just dominate. So I think it really depends on what happens with all that. I'm still taking my Bills to win the division, but it's going to be tighter than a lot of people think.
All right. Well, let me throw it over. Let me throw it over to Tony, and I'll introduce Tony right now because he is the only man I've ever met that says it's not proper to wear another man's jersey. It's the only guy I've ever met that has said that. The only jersey he'll wear is his own jersey. He's a Boise State alumni. But, Tony, talk to me. Are you smelling what Jake is cooking? What's going on there? Tell me what you think on the AFC East side.
Well, obviously, the big question mark is what happens with Jake the Snake, right? Like, is he going to be out? Is he going to play? I do think, in terms of their schedule and where things line up right now, this is the best time to not have him, right? This 3-game stretch, if they lose 2 out of the next 3, no big deal. Still an opportunity to close out the division. The thing that surprises me most is the Jets, what the Jets did last week to the Bills, how well they're playing on defense, their ability to run the football. If you look at the recipe for crappy teams to win football games, it's run the football and play great defense, and the Jets are effectively doing that. I love the odds for them to win the East, but if I had to put my hard-earned money down on who I think is going to win, I still have to look at the Bills. I mean, when you go position group by position group, against everybody else in that division, the only team that really stacks up is the Miami Dolphins. And to me, the biggest question mark for the Dolphins is whether Tua can continue to play at the level that he has been. Yes, it's been great, but again, their schedule's been pretty soft. They have shown up in the big games when they've had them. They still have to play the Jets again. They have to play the Bills again. So a lot of questions to be answered still in the division. But I love the Bills' chances to close it out. My dark horse in that league would probably be the Jets. Again, it is very tough top to bottom when you're talking about the New England Patriots being the worst team in the division and arguably maybe still a top 10, top 12 team in the league. That's a stacked division. So I'd rank them Bills 1, Dolphins 2, Jets 3. I agree with everything Jake said, but my money, just because of the odds, are on the Jets. I love the 20-1. I think they've got a legitimate shot.
Nice.
All right, good stuff, Tony, and thank you for that. And
just a quick comment, Mike, just real quick, and I'll let these other guys go. I forgot. I wanted to mention this because this is extremely important, near and dear to my heart. Only 2 teams with a fullback in the AFC East, Bills and Dolphins, and top 2 teams. I don't know if there's any correlation here, but top 2 teams are the Bills and Dolphins. So Alec Ingold, Reggie Gilliam, shout out to those guys. And they're very good fullbacks, by the way. They're not used nearly enough. And I expect to see more usage out of both of them because, listen, Tyreek can't do it all by himself. Jalen Waddle can't do it all by himself. Get that athletic young man, Alec Ingold, the ball, and get Reggie Gilliam in the game a little bit more because whenever we run the football with him, it's pretty damn effective. So that's it. I'll let these other guys go.
Well, we're going to do it like this because I got to keep you guys on track here. I'm going to just pick someone randomly. After someone talks about a division, like I went to Tony, I'm going to give one person an opportunity to talk about what you just said. So we're going to move on here. We'll recap later on when we bring it all together, like who we think is going to win the AFC and NFC, give some folks some opportunities to talk about these other divisions. But let's move on, and let's get into our AFC North. Now, when it comes to the AFC North, we got you covered with recently married Mr. Chris Caldwell out there on the East Coast, Baltimore, Maryland. There's a lot of chatter that his fantasy football teams have slipped since he's gotten married. But he is the king of fantasy football. He is the other half of our fantasy football show that we put out weekly. Mr. Chris Caldwell, welcome. How you doing tonight? And talk to us about this AFC North.
Thanks, Mike. I'm back in fantasy football, by the way. I was 8-1 last week, 7-2 this week. I'm back. I'm focused. I'm married. I'm back in the game. I just had to take a hiatus, but I'm fully back. But AFC North, I will say, we were all talking before the season. This was a popular pick to be one of the strongest, if the not strongest, divisions in football, and we absolutely have not seen it. Total duds so far, in my point of view, from Bengals, Browns, and Steelers. And Steelers have all but kind of thrown in the towel on this year. Trading Chase Claypool, going to their rookie quarterback. They're in, full rebuild mode, which we kind of expected, but I still thought they were going to be, around 500, giving some teams some tough games, but they're just not it this year. But the Bengals starting to hit stride. We'll see. I mean, they have the hardest remaining strength of schedule in the division by far, and they're already a game back and a loss to the Ravens. So I think these odds that they're showing for the division champ is making a lot of sense. Ravens already have that one win against them, and they have the easiest schedule in the NFL for the rest of the year. They have a bye week this week. They've been relatively banged up the last 3 weeks, and they're 3-0. And the players that they're getting back after the bye is just outstanding. I mean, we just traded for Roquan Smith, arguably best middle linebacker in football. We're getting Tyus Bowser back. He just played last week in New Orleans. David Ajabo, our promising young rookies, coming back. And we're going to get our free safety Marcus Williams back in week 11. So the defense is going to be extremely stout. Offense looking suspect slightly. Rashad Bateman out for the year. But Mark Andrews will be coming back off injury after the bye. Isaiah Likely's really emerged as kind of a slot receiver, tight end too. And, we signed the ageless Deshaun Jackson. What could go wrong? But as long as we can figure out and patch together our wide receiver core, I think we're going to really start rolling on the running game. Offensive line has played, I think, pretty outstanding so far this year. Rookie Tyler Linderbaum's just been holding it down at center. J.K. Dobbins is going to be back in a week or two. So things are looking up. I personally don't see how the Ravens can go worse than 12-5. They're hitting their bye at a perfect time with a lot of injuries, and they're going to be getting a pretty healthy team after the bye with the easiest rest of schedule. I just don't see how they relinquish the division since one of their wins is against the Bengals and the Browns. So that's the way I see it. The interesting team to me in this division is the Browns. If they can squeak together a few more wins before Deshaun Watson gets back, I think they're not really a threat for the division, but I think they could be a wild card threat in the AFC just because the team is very talented. They have a lot of nice pieces. For some reason, they're just not putting it together. They probably should have beat the Ravens. They were just one offensive pass interference call away from beating the Ravens. And just one more thing about the Ravens. I think they have to be – so they're 6-3 right now. 2 of their wins were one play away from being losses, but all 3 of their losses were one play away from being wins. Could be 9-0. Could be 4-5. It's like the oddest team in the NFL right now to me. But I think they're getting healthy at the right time. The bye was at the right time. Time to bring this thing home. I think that it would win the division comfortably. The last game of the year is in Cincinnati. It will not matter. Ravens win this one walking away.
Good stuff. Let me throw it to the other gentleman on the show who has a lot of interest in this division. Last but not least, Mr. Riku Mukherjee. And Rick is our utility guy. I mean, he can talk any sport there is. You just throw some random sport, the guy will get on and he'll talk like, he's been living the sport for all his life. But he does our fantasy football show with Chris. He does our 5 and 6 show with the golf show with Tony. We get him on here to talk football. Any sport you want to talk about, throw it at him. He'll have something for you. But Rick, tell me what you think about what Chris just said about this team. Obviously, it scares the hell out of me that the Ravens have the easiest schedule through the rest of the season. They're starting to get better. It's, in my opinion, it's ugly football to watch. I hate watching it, but they're damn good. Tell us what you think.
Well, I mean, if you want, I can talk about the NFL, or I can talk about some esports too. If you want some League of Legends, if you want me to get into that, I can talk about that. Some Chinese ping pong, I can talk about that. Yeah, I'm gonna echo what Chris said here. I think the Ravens are going to win the division. There's a reason why they're one game ahead in the standings and they're minus 600 to win the division. It's because of the rest of their schedule. Now, I know a lot of the talk this year has been about the Bills and the Chiefs and all that stuff, but I mean, in reality, guys, I mean, what would the conversation be here if the Ravens were 9-0 instead of 6-3? And they could have easily been 9-0 if they didn't blow double-digit leads in the second half against the Bills, the Giants, and the Dolphins. So if they had not blown those games, it would be 9-0. They would have a stranglehold in this division. That minus 600 would be like minus 6,000 instead of minus 600. But yeah, the rest of the schedule is in all honesty, like barring injury, is a cakewalk. There should be a favorite every single game the rest of the year, except maybe at Cincinnati week 18, if that game even matters. And if it doesn't, then who cares? So I, like Chris said, 12-5. I mean, obviously there's going to be probably a couple fluky losses here and there, but 12-5 or 13-4 is probably what I'm thinking. And they're either going to be a 1 seed, maybe a 2 seed going into the playoffs, kind of depending on what happens with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs out there. So I think they're in good shape, but I will throw a little caveat in there and say that um, what are they going to do when they get to the playoffs? That's the thing that worries me. They have one win in the playoffs under Lamar, and the rest of it's been pretty ugly. And I just think when it comes down to January football with the guy who we have at offensive coordinator and the guy who we have at head coach, I'm not too thrilled about those two guys. I just don't know if they can win playoff games in January. And if they do, great. If they make the Super Bowl, great. But I'll be the first person in line to buy tickets to the Super Bowl, and I'll go to the game in Glendale this year. But I just don't see that happening. They haven't sniffed an AFC championship in 10 years. And it's really depressing when it comes to that as a Ravens fan, especially when we demand excellence. So we'll see. I do think they're going to win the division. I think the Bengals are in line to potentially get a wild card, depending on how they can, do these next few games without Jamar Chase until Jamar Chase comes back. So I think they will be in a fight to be a wild card, especially because I think that the Jets are not going to make the playoffs. I know we're not talking about the AFC East, but I think the Jets are completely fraudulent. They have a terrible quarterback. This league is based on quarterback play, and I think Zach Wilson does not belong in the NFL, especially as a starting quarterback. So I think because of that, yes, they have a good defense, and yes, they have good coaching, but the quarterback play is going to stymie the Jets down the road. And I think the Bengals could sneak into a wild card spot, especially if they string together some wins. But yeah, the Browns are going to be out of it by the time Deshaun comes around, and the Steelers are terrible. So this is a two horse race in this division, and I think the Ravens are going to take it down just based on their schedule.
I just wanted to add a stat that I meant to say when I was talking about it. Ravens are the first team since 2011 to have a 10-point lead in every single game through the first 9 games. 6-3 record. Me and Rick keep saying it. It should be at least a game or two better. Had some bad luck. Gassed out our defense a little bit in the fourth quarter, like in the Bills game, like in the Dolphins game. 28-point fourth quarter for the Dolphins against us at home. But yeah, I think we've learned from those and moved on and get the ugly losses out of the way early. So, Ravens are a top 3 contender in the AFC, no doubt about it. If you don't agree, then you're lying to yourself.
I love it. So I'm looking at the strength of schedule here. Cleveland has the 20th strength of schedule left. They do play Buffalo. We play the Vikings this week, and then we play Cleveland at home. And then they have the Ravens, the Dolphins, the Bengals. I don't see, Chris, how you see them even having a prayer. When does Deshaun Watson come back? Is it week 11 or week 10?
He misses 2 more weeks, I believe. 2 more weeks, and then they have their bye, right? I think that's how it works.
Okay. All right. So I agree with you, Rick, there. I just don't see Cleveland having the magic. We'll see, though. Anyhow, let's move on over to the AFC South, and the man who refuses to wear a jersey. I've offered to buy him one. He just will not do it. Tony, tell us why that is, and then get into the AFC South, man.
Like I've stated many times before, no grown man should wear another grown man's jersey, right? If you didn't play the game, don't wear somebody else's number. I can't do it. So again, I leave that to you guys. I fully get it. You're fanatical about your teams. I'm just excited to talk anything other than golf. We're not talking about strokes gained. We're talking about winning divisions. And you guys give me the absolutely easiest cream puff division to break down. This is simple. It's quick. It's the Tennessee Titans or nobody in the AFC South. This is probably objectively the worst division in football, other than maybe the NFC South. I feel like the NFC South has a little bit more of a pulse, but it's the Titans here. They are clearly the class of this division. It was proven on Sunday night when they went bell to bell with the NFL's best, the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead Stadium, taking them all the way into overtime with their backup quarterback. And it just proves the fact that even in an era of great quarterback play where offenses are scoring 30, 40 points on any given Sunday, that defense and running the football still wins games. Go look at what the Patriots are doing. Go look at what the Giants are doing. You can have an abysmal quarterback and still beat the crap out of people if you have a man horse at running back. And Derrick Henry is an absolute freak of nature. And as long as that man has a pulse, they need to give him the football. He needs to carry the ball 30, 40 times a game and let those two other freak shows that they have playing defensive tackle up front absolutely destroy teams. I love the Titans in this division. It's not even close. The other team that has the lightest of pulses, and I'm talking like a 90-year-old billionaire on his deathbed in home care with his 28-year-old trophy wife standing next to him with the checkbook and a will with her name on it, like the lightest of pulses, it's the Jaguars here. The Jaguars have a tough road ahead with the remaining strength of schedule. They have to play the Chiefs. They have to play the Cowboys. They have to play the Ravens. And yes, they have to play in division against the Titans 2 more times. But if by the grace of God, they can win those games against the Titans and then somehow pull out a couple victories against some of the best teams in the NFL, well, there's a chance. I love the number that they're getting in terms of their odds. And again, because this division is so terrible, they have a chance. The Houston Texans, we'll just cross them right off the list. Not worth discussing. But, hey, they're in the division. It is what it is. Chalk up a victory for the teams that are going to play against them. And then, of course, the Indianapolis Colts. You talk about throwing in the towel. You hire a guy whose best byline on his coaching resume is Peyton Manning rubbed his nuts for 13 years. And I don't know if that makes you a great football mind through osmosis, but to me, that just means that they've thrown in the towel on the year. They've shelved Taylor. Michael Pittman is garbage. Their quarterback play is absolutely terrible. They are the worst team in this division, even in comparison with the Texans. So to me, Titans with a bullet, not even close. Jaguars, if everything falls their way and they can beat the Titans twice before the division ends up, they have the outside chance. But again, I think the Titans run away with this thing, Mike.
Yeah, interesting. I'm going to throw it to Jake to see what he thinks. Now, Jake, we dropped 41 points on the Titans, and somehow they turned this thing around. And watching that game, like Tony said, against the Chiefs, it was brutal. I was like, oh, my God, how did we drop 41 on that defense that was holding Mahomes? I mean, what, it was 20-20, I think, when they went in overtime, something like that, or
17-17. Yeah.
And they get the field goal win. They were shutting down arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the league. They were doing a damn good job with it. And freaking Malik Willis, I was like screaming at the TV, you throw the damn ball, man. Just throw it, especially at the end of the game.
Objectively terrible. Malik Willis, we've identified. People are like, is he good? Is he bad? He's objectively terrible.
Well, and yeah, so without Tannehill, for them to still be able to stay in that game, like Tony said, and for some reason Tony loves the Titans. He was big on them last year. They were the number 1 seed, but just blew it going into their after their bye week. But talk to me about the South here. I mean, it does seem like a simple choice of the Titans, but tell me a little bit how you think they've turned it around and just how good they're going to be the rest of the season.
I'm going to break down every single one of Tony's comments first off. So we're going to start with the jerseys. So I am as beta as it gets, I guess, because I got 76 jerseys sitting right there, Tone. Sitting over there. I got like 76 of them. I got a Reggie Gilliam one, too. I probably should have wore it because that's my guy. But,
where do you even buy a Reggie Gilliam jersey? Like, does that exist anywhere outside of Buffalo? No, actually, DHgate. It's a beautiful thing. Got to hop on it. If you haven't, do it because the jerseys, pretty solid, $25, not a big deal. I actually bought they're not proud, but I did get a Matt Araiza jersey early on, and I didn't feel as bad throwing it out because, obviously the whole situation that happened with him, only $25. So they are a little bit cheaper. Quality, a touch off, but hey, they're still stitched. So yes, so that's the first comment I have. Second off, I totally agree with what you're saying. I think the Titans are, clearly not even – no one stands a chance in this division. I don't know how the Titans they're going to go undefeated in the conference. There's no chance they lose a game in this conference. They're already 3-0. So that's 3 more wins already. So they're already, you want to just chalk up 3 more wins right away, right off the bat. They took the Colts into they took the Chiefs into overtime at 17-17. And had they not had Malik Willis playing in the game and Ryan Tannehill was out there, they win that game. There's no doubt in my mind. Malik Willis completed, 5 passes all day? It's freaking insane to me. Bizarre hire by the Colts with Jeff Saturday. The only comment I have on that, I know people are absolutely losing their minds about it. You have Gus Bradley on the staff. You have John Fox on the staff, both former head coaches
that have, been at high levels, been in big games, and just, I guess, whatever. We're going to bring a guy in from the outside, which I guess he's been a consultant for the team. Now, I will say this. I have a little inside info on Jeff Saturday. So my good buddy who I work with played at University of Buffalo with a guy named Jamie Richard, who was a center. He was also Jeff Saturday's backup center. And he used to come back. He used to go back up to University of Buffalo, and he would talk to the guys and stuff. And he said Jeff Saturday was one of the biggest football wizards you'll ever meet. And he would just sit there and listen to him and Peyton Manning talk ball all day long. The guy could tell you exactly every single assignment that anyone on the field was doing. And he said it was the most incredible thing of all time. So I guess he has that going for him. But outside of that, I don't know what the hell the Colts are doing. And the funniest part is Jeff Saturday, I don't know if you guys saw it, tweeted on like October 30th. He said the Raiders are awful. Guess who's playing this week? The Raiders. So potentially a matchup between the two worst head coaches in football and Josh McDaniels and Jeff Saturday. Fired up to watch that one. Gonna have it on one of my TVs down here because it's like can't miss football. So it's gonna be great. I will say I agree with what Tony said in the whole Jacksonville Jaguars, like the slightest pulse type thing, because there are moments with that team. Great rally, first off. I know it was against the Raiders last week where they come back and somehow win that game. Don't know what the hell the Raiders are doing. They look awful. They start off so strong, and then they just blow every game. With Jacksonville, man, they got some players on that team. I think Travis Etienne is starting to come up a little bit. Christian Kirk's had a phenomenal year. That defense, they have the other Josh Allen on defense, who was apparently going to get traded at one point, which is insane. But they got some dogs on that team, and I do think that they're a young team that's kind of up and coming, and Doug Peterson is a good coach, so I think they'll get right. I don't think they're going to be even, considered in playoff talk or wild card talk or anything like that, but they have a little bit of a pulse, at least in this division, to finish second. And then the Texans, man, just write them off. I mean, they played well against the Eagles, but not a chance did they even come close to winning this division. I think ultimately in this, maybe the Texans could finish third. The Colts probably finish last. I don't know if they win another game all year. And that's no disrespect to Jeff Saturday. I love the guy. I think he was a great center. I think he's a Hall of Famer. But, man, as a guy to just come in, only coaching at the high school level, I mean, it's absolutely bonkers. But, yeah, Titans by 1 million. I think they're going to win this division outright. And at minus 400, I would take that all day long. I don't think it's even worth putting money on any of these other teams.
Only Jake would have this much information about a division this bad. My goodness, the guy knows everything.
And I want to say something. Speaking of the AFC South guys, if you haven't checked it out, just posted a video about Jimmy Smith, one of the most underrated receivers, I think, of this last 20 years. Guy didn't get a ton of attention because he played in the league with like T.O., Randy Moss, and all those guys. So, when you're putting up 1,600 yards a year, but you got Randy Moss putting up 1,600 yards and then 17 touchdowns, it's tough to compete with. I think Jimmy Smith should be in the Hall of Fame. Just made a great video about him against Rick and Chris's 2000 Ravens. So
we don't need to talk about that.
Anyways, that's what I think about the AFC South.
Honestly, like you think about it, top to bottom, the best guys, the best team to the worst team, the worst quarterback play of any division. The best team in that division is starting Malik Willis. Like their quarterbacks are terrible across the board in all four teams.
Insane. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into the division I think many thought coming into the season would be the best division in the AFC. Has not turned out to be the case. So we're going to have our man, Rick Mukherjee. Come on, Rick, tell us what's going on here.
Yeah. Well, before I get into the AFC West, I want to make a comment about jerseys. I'm in the middle between Jake and Tony here. I think that jerseys are fine, but you should only wear jerseys of active players. You should not wear jerseys of maybe legends are okay, like Ray Lewis or Peter Boulware on the Ravens is fine, but you should not be wearing a Ed Dixon jersey to the Ravens game, which this guy in front of me when I went to the Ravens Bills game was wearing an Ed Dixon jersey, and I was like,
I love that.
That's not a thing. So
that fires me up.
Only active players and only legends can you wear jerseys for.
Anyway. So I should get rid of my Sam Gash, is what you're saying?
Yeah, you should. Yeah. Well, Sam Gash is like one of the best fullbacks of all time. So I don't
know Sam Gash. Come on.
The best jersey play ever is to wear the jersey of a guy who's now on another team from his previous team at the game that he used to play for. That's the best move, right?
That's a good play.
It's like to your point, like where like, hey, I don't know, some random Charger jersey. Now the guy plays for the Bills, but you wear his jersey to the Chargers game. Like that's the worst move ever.
Yeah, I agree. All right,
Fair
so
enough.
AFC West. Yeah, like I'm gonna echo what Mike said here. This was preseason. We talked about it, and it was like the division that we thought was gonna be at where the AFC East is, with over 20 wins at this point in the season. But they're nowhere close to that. I'll start off by talking about the Raiders. They're trash, man. They made the big offseason splash in getting Devontae Adams. They had Hunter Renfrow coming off of a career year last year. Josh Jacobs looking good. Darren Waller, like a high flying offense. But then they hired the worst. I think the worst coach in the NFL, in Josh McDaniels. We've seen him be a terrible head coach in the past. He should have stayed in New England, besides Bill Belichick, and where he actually knew what he was doing. I thought that's what he was going to do, but I guess not, because I thought he was going to wait until Bill Belichick retired and take over the reins in New England. But I guess he got an offer that he couldn't refuse, taking over in Las Vegas. But they're terrible, man. They just cut Jonathan Abram on their defense, and they literally have no first round picks from that from like the last like few years or something like that. They just are terrible at drafting. The owner doesn't know what he's doing. They're just a mess of an organization. And you would think that they would be better because they have a very high flying offense and pretty decent quarterback play. I think Derek Carr is a serviceable quarterback in the NFL, but just hasn't amounted to it. They obviously made the playoffs last year. I don't know if that was just a fluky kind of situation or not, and this is what the real Raiders are, but yeah, it just hasn't panned out for them this year, and they are just, I think they're going to finish dead last in this division by the end of the season, just where they are right now. Moving up to the Broncos, they also made a big splash in this division, and they're in the offseason trading for Russell Wilson. And everybody thought that getting a Hall of Fame quarterback, a Super Bowl winning quarterback, was going to make them, Super Bowl contenders. I think when they traded for Russell Wilson, their odds went from like 25 to 1 to win the Super Bowl to like 12 to 1 to win the Super Bowl. And one thing that we have realized, and I'll talk about this more when I cover when we talk about the NFC West, but I think the Seattle Seahawks completely fleeced them in that trade. They knew how bad Russell Wilson was at this point in his career. He just doesn't have the ability to make plays with his legs anymore. He's a statue in the pocket. He can't get outside the pocket and make throws, and he's basically dust at this point. I mean, they have good playmakers on the outside with Judy and Sutton. And they had a nice little two-headed backfield. Yes, Javonte Williams, losing him for the season was a big loss. They had good defense with Bradley Chubb, and Patrick Surtain was a great draft pick and stuff like that. They have the pieces there, but like I said earlier, this is a division that's completely. I mean, this is a league completely based on quarterback play, and they're just not getting it out of Russell Wilson. Yes, he looked a little better last week when he played in the London game against Jacksonville, but moving forward, I just don't. Unless like something miraculous happens and he starts able to be a little bit more mobile in the pocket, he's just going to continue to take sacks back there. And their offensive line's not that great, so I really don't see them making a comeback in their division. They do have tough games. They still have 2 games against Kansas City. I don't think they're going to win either of those games. They have to play the Ravens. They have to play the Chargers and Titans. So I think they have a pretty tough schedule moving forward. I say probably by the end of the year, I don't even think they're going to be eligible for a wild card spot. They're probably going to be like 7-10 at the best. I think maybe 6-11 could be their final record here. So it all comes down to these 2 teams at the top, the Chiefs and the Chargers. So my take on the Chargers so far this year is we thought last year the Chargers, yes, they missed the playoffs, but we saw the potential there with Justin Herbert. And I think maybe he's taken a step back this season. And I don't know if it's because he hasn't had Keenan Allen all year basically, and Mike Williams is hurt now. I don't know if it's because of the fact that they're so like kind of banged up at like on both sides of the ball, to be completely honest with you. But Justin Herbert just looks like he hasn't made that next step that we thought he was going to take, where he would be like in MVP consideration. He's clearly, second fiddle to Patrick Mahomes in this division. And I'm not really sure why. I feel like, the step that we saw Tua take this year in Miami, who was drafted ahead of Justin Herbert, a few picks ahead of Justin Herbert in that draft. Most people last year were saying that was the worst decision Miami could have ever made, was drafting Tua ahead of Justin Herbert. Well, now that we're 9 games in the season, week 10 of the season, is it the worst decision they made? It looks like Tua might be a little bit better than Justin Herbert. I don't know. Justin Herbert still passes the eye test, but is he good enough to take this team to the playoffs? I don't know, man. It's tough. They have one more game against Kansas City, which just got flexed to Sunday night in 2 weeks. They have a Sunday night game this week. So they're back-to-back Sunday nights against San Francisco and Kansas City. And I think both of those are losses, and they might be 5-5 in 2 weeks. And really, really looking out from the outside in in the playoff picture. So I think this division's Kansas City's. I think it's pretty safe to say it's Kansas City's. They did look pretty pedestrian on Sunday night against Tennessee. They didn't look like the high flying offense that we usually see out of Kansas City. I give a lot of credit to Tennessee in that game. Mike Vrabel's a hell of a coach. He's one of those guys that will fight for his team till the very end. He's made some crazy statements about what he'd do to win the Super Bowl and stuff like that in the past. And so I think the Titans match up well against the Chiefs. So maybe that wasn't the best matchup for them, but if we're going to talk about, a game where, like, for example, if the Chiefs play the Bills or the Chiefs play, another high flying offense in a game where it's a shootout, I'm going to lean with Patrick Mahomes most times, 95% of the time, just because I think not only is he the best quarterback in the NFL, he's probably one of the best quarterbacks of all time at this point. So I think the number right there for -900 for the Chiefs is appropriate. I think they are the clear-cut best team in this division. I think they're going to end up being, a top 3 seed going into the playoffs. And, anything happens in January football. We talked about that earlier. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if their defense is able to hold up. The defense has been playing okay so far this year. Nothing great. I think they're definitely exploitable, but that's something that we worry about when it comes to January. But I think they're the clear-cut winner to win this division and, go to the playoffs as a top 3 seed.
Yeah, I'm looking at their schedule, their strength of schedule, and it scares me, just like the Ravens. Ravens has the easiest, Kansas City is 30th. Look at the teams there. Seattle, it's crazy to me that Seattle's the toughest opponents that's on there, right? And you got the Chargers. But I'm not going to throw this over the wall because we're off schedule a little bit, but I'm going to go down real quick. And we didn't talk about wildcard teams, so I'm going to ask each of you, tell me your AFC winner, who's going to take the AFC, and tell me a wildcard team. And I'll end up with my pick, and I'll tell you who my wildcard team is. But for me, it looks like those Chargers. Coming into the season, I really felt the Chargers were going to be able to overthrow the Chiefs. And I think, to your point, Rick, I think it's been mostly injuries. He hasn't had any healthy receivers. Keenan Allen seems to get hurt every year, and Mike Williams as well. So I think that's a big part of it. But I still think they got some juice in them. But let's go around the board here. Let me throw it to Jake real quick. Jake, you're AFC champion, and give me a wild card team.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I got to go with the Bills as my AFC champion, guys. I still think, as bad as the Bills have been playing the last couple of weeks here, still the best team in football, without a doubt. I mean, you have Josh Allen on the team. He's the best quarterback in the NFL. And listen, I get it. I think the Chiefs and the Ravens are definitely right there. Both of those teams are excellent. But I just, in my heart, not even being biased, like, Josh Allen's just different, man. He makes this team what it is. And I'll tell you what, the defense, we're banged up right now. Jordan Poyer, when he comes back, Matt Milano, we are missing him. We missed him. He cannot miss any more games because that guy's unbelievable. Once we get healthy, I mean, Trey White's coming back too. It's going to be dangerous. And we're not even playing with Micah Hyde right now. I mean, shoot, he's one of the best safeties in the NFL as well. And we're missing both of our safeties right now, Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde. I mean, those guys are insane, the best safety duo in the NFL, and we're doing this without them pretty much all year long. Jordan Poyer's played 4 games this year. He's got 4 interceptions. He's absolutely killing it. Actually, I think he's played 5 games this year, but 4 interceptions. This guy's absolutely murdering it right now. I'll tell you this, guys. I just can't. I can't go against the Bills. I think they got to win the AFC. This is the year, In terms of the wild card teams, I think teams that sneak in here, absolutely got to say the Dolphins are going to get into the wild card. And then it's really, for me, like, it's tough here. I think the Chargers are a potential, but I think they're just going to miss the playoffs again. There's something about them. I totally agree with the one comment we had on here. The Chargers are the same exact team as they were last year, and now they're missing Mike Williams. Who knows how long he's going to be out for? Gerald Everett stepped up a little bit. Joshua Palmer looks good, but, like, man, they're hurting right now, and they just lost. Did they lose Rashawn Slater for the year? Is he done for the year or no? Am I thinking of someone else? I could be wrong on that.
He's done for the year.
He's done for the year. Okay, that's what I thought. So, and that's a big loss too. So I just think that the Chargers, they're not going to get in. I think it's going to be the Dolphins. I think it's going to be the Bengals. And then as that last team, this is kind of tricky, but I'm going to say the Jets, which is insane. But I'm going to say 3 AFC East teams get in.
All right. I'm going to throw it to you, Chris. And I also want you to comment on something that I watched your guys' show, you and Rick's show last year, your fantasy football show. I was producing it. Now you guys produce your own. And he's talking about Tua being as good as Herbert. Now, last year, what was he saying about Tua? This is garbage, absolutely horrible. Talk to me, Chris. First of all, give me your AFC champ. Tell me who maybe won wild card. And then what do you think about this Mr. Rick here talking about Tua?
Wait a minute. Are you thinking of the same Chris? Because I've been on the Tua bandwagon heavier than anyone ever. And I think that's what you were saying, Mike. But I've been all in Tua on fantasy and in real life, ever since he was drafted. So I'm team Tua. I think he's great. I think he just left-handed bias. I don't know what it is, but he's 6-0 this year when he plays the full game. I think the guy's great. I mean, I know he has weapons galore, but he's just a gamer, man. I love the face paint down the face. Just like, get me in there. Like, I love that guy.
Is he better than Herbert though? Is he better than Herbert?
Is he better than Herbert? No. If I'm in a vacuum, I'm taking Herbert. More toolsy, higher ceiling. Tua is like Tebow on steroids, like that gamer, not a huge arm, I don't know, but I'm taking Herbert. No, he's having a down year. I don't know what's up with the Chargers. That's why I'm glad I didn't have to talk about this division because I don't really have a comment on them right now. But so my pick to win the AFC, and it sucks going with 2 homer picks, but I got to go Ravens. I just think that. I just low-key think they're the best team in the NFL this year once everything comes together, if they can dodge the injury bug. I mean, they were absolutely destroyed by injuries last year, absolutely destroyed by injuries so far this year. If they can just stay 80% healthy, I think if you can keep this team together and let them mesh and let them click. Lamar Jackson has not played well this year yet. And, I mean, we know how he can play. The defense is outstanding. It's a top 3 defensive team in the NFL. And I just think, Rick doesn't like Harbaugh, but I think they're all in all a well-coached team, not just by the head coach, but by the coordinators and the lower level coaches too. They have a lot of discipline. I think if that team can stick together and mesh, they have the ability to knock off anyone if Lamar plays his game. And then as for another, Mike, did you want the wild card teams or a wild card team that could win the AFC?
No, just a wild card, the wild card teams. And I was only asking for one. So just give me one that you think will.
Okay.
Sneak in there as a wild card team.
This one's completely off the wall. Probably not going to happen. But as a long shot, I'm going to say the Broncos because I think there's a couple things that could happen. That might happen. If they fire their coach, which he needed to be gone 3 weeks ago, that guy's an absolute idiot, right? Nathaniel Hackett is please get rid of him. It's funny because last year, what did we say the whole year? If only the Broncos got a quarterback, they're wasting a defense, right? Is withering away. Look at their points against this year. They're not giving up any points. Their defense is absolutely rock solid. I know they lost Javonte Williams. I know they traded Bradley Chubb. It's a very long shot, but if they were to get rid of their coach and Russell Wilson would play 80% of what Russell Wilson has played, why not? That's my complete long shot.
All right. I think I saw Tony throw up in his mouth. It was when you said the Denver Broncos.
Jeez. This show has gone off the rails. We're talking about Tua being better than Herbert, the Broncos making the playoffs. It's oh my God. I'm what kind of bizarro world are we in?
I think Chris just likes to go, like you said, off the rail. He comes out of left field with these
We got
predictions.
people chiming in, Mike, asking if Tua is better than Mahomes. Like, dude, where am I, dude? Am I living on Instagram or Facebook or Meta? Like, this is like bizarro world.
You want to get a little bit more bizarro, Tony?
Yeah, why not?
All right, let's do it. All right, my pick to win the AFC, the Miami Dolphins, with Tua Tagovailoa going to the Super Bowl. They're going to go into Buffalo, and they're going to win the AFC Championship game in Buffalo, and they're going to go to the Super Bowl, and there goes Jake.
Jake is leaving. Jake has left the studio.
Jake has left the studio. All right, my pick to win the AFC for real though is the Kansas City Chiefs.
Come on, Rick. The Dolphins have beat the Bills and the Ravens. What's the big deal, right? I mean, I'm just being honest.
That's true. All right, so I'll give you a real answer. I think the Chiefs are going to win the AFC again. I think they have the best quarterback in the NFL. They have the Bills' number. We'll see if the Bills can actually beat them this year in the playoffs. I don't know. It all depends on Josh Allen's health. I don't know if he's completely healthy or if he's going to be healthy in the playoffs. But I'll just go ahead and say the Chiefs are going to win the AFC. And I think my sneaky team, I'm just going to roll with what I said in the preseason here. The Bengals are going to make the playoffs this year. I think they're a good team. I think the loss of Chase hurts a lot, but I think they'll do enough to get into the playoffs, and Chase will be back by the playoffs. And they might make a run in the playoffs again like they did last year sneakily. But those are my two little picks there.
All right. Thank you, Rick. Let's go to the 5 or 6 apologist here. Give me your AFC champ and give me a wildcard team.
I agree with Rick. I think it's the Chiefs. I think it's the Chiefs or nobody. The outside shot of winning it, all just because of their strength of schedule and how things may shake out, is the Ravens. The Ravens may end up with a very favorable position in the playoff race where they may not have to play the Chiefs or the Bills in any of the rounds except the AFC Championship. So again, I think they're the dark horse. If I was to pick a dark horse, I think the Chiefs win it. In terms of wild card teams, I agree with Jake. I think you're going to get 3 teams out of the East that end up making the playoffs. And I actually think that either the Dolphins or the Jets will end up crumbling, and the Patriots are going to sneak their way into the wild card race in that division. I don't know how that's going to, but that division is so tough. I think you're going to get 3 in, and I think the Patriots somehow with Bill Belichick and everything that he does, they're going to channel their way into the playoffs.
I completely agree.
Oh my God, you just made me nauseous. There's no way in hell that's happening. Absolutely no way.
With what quarterback?
Yeah, exactly. Come on now.
Come on, we just talked
Tony,
about it. Like,
you're the one off the rails, dude. Broncos
the
would be
quarterback play in the NFL is almost as bad as the head coaching in the NFL. Like, it's all over the board. And we already talked, like, you don't even have to have a quarterback like to win your division, a la the South. I mean, dude, the AFC East, as good as that division is, look at the quarterbacks in that division.
And FC South's just as bad.
You're right, Tony.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you got one guy in the best division in football, potentially, right? The NFC East might have something to say about that. Like, I don't know, man. It's just that division is weird, and you're talking about maybe the best coach of all time, and he's this close. I could see him sneaking in.
Fair statement. Yeah.
You know, I saw you go grab a bottle there, Jake, and I know Rick's supposed to be our friend, right? And he's saying that Dolphins just, I mean, it's just.
I heard him say, I really think the Chiefs are going to win the AFC. It's fair. Listen, I think they're like the Chiefs and Ravens are the teams right now. I think that scared me probably the most for the Bills. I think the Ravens, I had them going 14-3 before the season started. So I had them actually having the 2 seed at 14-3, and the Bills just barely getting the 1 seed. And that's because, well, I had them losing to the Ravens in the regular season, but in terms of the conference schedule and all that stuff, I had the Bills just being a little bit better. So, I'll tell you this. I think you guys are spot on with most of it. Not really seeing the whole Tua thing, Chris. Listen, I think Tua is a gamer, like you said, but I don't see him as a top 5 guy or anything like that. I think he's a good player, but I mean, shoot, Tyreek Hill is about to have 2,000 receiving yards, and more of it's Tyreek Hill than it is Tua, I think.
Yeah. So for me, I mean, this is a tough one. You know where my heart is, but I'm not wearing the jersey. Trying to be a little unbiased for this one. And I do have a son who loves the Ravens. Breaks my heart, but he does love the Bills too. The Bills are inching up, trying to take over the Ravens in his heart. But I'm going to say it's going to be the Ravens. I really do. I think they have the defense to shut down Mahomes. I think we know Lamar's playing on a contract. He's playing to get paid. And I know, like you said, Chris, he hasn't played his best yet. As a matter of fact, I don't think he's played well enough to get that big paycheck that he's asking for, that guaranteed money. He's going to bring it. And I think they have the defense, especially with the addition of Smith at linebacker there, one of the best middle linebackers in the game today. So it's Ravens for me. Take the AFC. That hurts. And then I think the Jets and the Dolphins are wildcard teams. Let's move on. Man, I knew it when Tony was telling us, we'll do the show in about 35
It's
minutes,
your
guys.
job, Mike.
35
it's your job
minutes.
to keep us on track.
But I am, and I'm cutting you short, and it's just like, wow.
No one cares about the NFC. Let's just breeze through there.
Yeah, we're going to breeze through this quickly. All right, so we're going to go to Jake on this one. NFC West. Jake, I'm going to ask that you pick up your time a little bit on this one, and we'll try to get through this one quickly, guys. So, Jake, take over.
I think I'm going to spend more time just talking about this UB Central Michigan game, guys. By the way, Rick, you might win some money tonight. Maction is in full force. We got 1:39 left. Central Michigan up 31-27. Matt Stafford is in concussion protocol, but the Seahawks, I think, are going to pull this division out. I don't know how, but they're going to do it. I love the Niners. I think they're well coached, but I think Seattle, they're onto something. And we're spending most of the week talking about Russell Wilson's wristband. I don't know what the hell's going on. I think the Seahawks are taking this.
Wow. I'm gonna go with the CMC Christian McCaffrey team that I think the Niners have enough to take this division. Rams are struggling. They're trash. I'm not gonna say trash, but they're struggling, man. They do not look like I don't know how they got into the Super Bowl last year. They are struggling big time. So Niners for me. And
hey, my sabermetrics, my sabermetrics stat of the day, I guess you can call it. Kyler Murray 0-3 since the new Call of Duty came out. So I don't know what that says, but yeah.
All right, let's move on here. NFC South. We're gonna take it over to Chris on this one.
Yeah, this one's pretty boring. So me and Tony actually quarterback in this division. I'm Andy Dalton and Tony's Marcus Mariota. This division's also not very many good quarterbacks in here except the GOAT, Tom Brady. I think he brings this one home. His marital situation is now out of sight, out of mind. Time to focus on football. Also, what would you give me if I said in Week 10? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have scored the least amount of points in the division, less than the Carolina Panthers, the Saints, and the Falcons. That is absolutely bizarro world. See, Tony, everything's bizarro world. Anything can happen, off the wall crap, left and right. I mean, this is just crazy. So Rick just got really excited at something I said, or his team just scored a touchdown.
No, Central Michigan just covered, so I'm good.
He's not paying attention to you, Chris.
Yeah, whatever. So anyway, so Falcons are tied for the division lead. Frauds. Marcus Mariota is not winning a division. That defense is not going to hang all year. They're pretty damn bad. Have a couple really lucky wins. One just coming recently against the Panthers. Complete frauds. If anything, Saints make a run. They've lost a lot of close games this year. I just came back from New Orleans a couple days ago, and I checked all the Saints box scores, and they've just been losing 3-point games like it's their business. So I think they're a better team than their record says, but they're not going to beat the GOAT. Brady wins this division by at least 2 games.
So real quick, Tony, on the follow-up on this one. Tampa Bay 4-5. We know what's going on with Brady. He is the GOAT. Do you see the Buccaneers making a run here and threatening to take the NFC, even though they're off to a 4-5 start?
I don't think they win the NFC. They might win this division, which is, to Chris's point, absolute garbage. But I don't know, dude. Everybody keeps waiting for them to turn this corner. I just don't think it's going to happen. But I also don't think they need to turn the corner. I think they could lose their next 3-4 games and then just worry about the last 4 or 5 games at the end of the year that will win the division. And that's all they need to do. The defense is decent. It's not great, but it's decent. And like we've kind of talked about a bunch of times, The quarterback play in the rest of this division is pretty bad. And if you have defense, you got a shot. To me, it's the Buccaneers or nobody. I love the Falcons spread almost every single week, but in terms of real winning football games, I can't get there. Saints are terrible. The Carolina Panthers might as well be a JV squad. But so I agree with everything Chris said. It's the Bucs, but I think they probably lose 3 or 4 more games and still win the division.
I just one more thing on if you wanted to lay the juice for a division winner, I know we're all touting Kansas City. I don't know why anyone would lay minus 900 on Kansas City to win that division when the Chargers are right there. When you can bet the Bucks to win minus 210 and Tennessee's minus 400 to win their division. Yeah. Why in the world would you lay 900 when you can bet those two teams that are going to wrap it up just as easy, right?
No response from the bettors out there?
Oh, totally agree. He's right. This is the best bet.
I totally agree. I mean, there's no reason why you would lay minus 900, but I think the best bet is Titans minus 400, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, I totally agree. Thumbs up on that as well.
All right, Tony. Let's move into your NFC North. Again, I know you love the Bears because they got that great running game, and you love running teams. So let's throw it over. Talk to us about the NFC North.
Yeah, you guys gave me the 2 biggest cream puff divisions. The North is pretty much sewn up. The Vikings are running away this. So you want to talk about terrible betting odds? Minus 3,500.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Again, the Vikings have this sewn up. I think the Vikings, very similar, like I made the comments I made about the Buccaneers, they could lose 4 or 5 of their next 6 games and still wrap the division up easily. The Green Bay Packers are garbage. Aaron Rodgers is terrible this year. The Chicago Bears, everybody's like, oh, man, they're playing better. It's Fields. Man, he ran for a bunch of yards. They still haven't won anything. They're still garbage. The best team outside of the Vikings to me is the Detroit Lions in this division. Everybody was kind of like they were that dark horse team along with the Jaguars before the season started because their coach, is a big rah-rah guy. Well, it turns out like he's not a very good football coach, and that team's not very good. Jared Goff is terrible, and they can't win anywhere but in their dome at home. So, again, the Vikings, easy pick. If you were going to go out on a limb, I would actually take the Lions above anybody else in this division. I hate the Packers. I hate the Bears.
Do you think, is this it for Rodgers? Is this his year, or is he going to come back, you think?
I think because of everything he's done, he deserves another year. But, I mean, why would you come back? That team's depleted. They did nothing in the trade deadline to try and get him any kind of weapons. Like, you had teams making moves. The Niners bringing in Christian McCaffrey, and it's like, can I get a receiver? Can I get a tight end? Can I get somebody block for me? Can I get anything? They did nothing. So if I was him, I would pull the Brady's retire deal, and then hopefully somebody else swoops him up. But I don't know. Does he deserve another year? Yes. Do I think he can play another year? Yes. If I was him, would I come back? Hell no.
Can I make a comment about that real quick, Mike?
Sure.
I've been watching, I bet a lot of football, so I watch a lot of Packers games and stuff like that. But Aaron Rodgers has not been playing bad this year. He's actually been playing pretty high quality football. He just has like the worst. I mean, I thought the Ravens receiving squad was bad. They had the worst receiving squad in football. If they still had Devontae Adams, they would be winning this division, I think. So I think that was a huge loss for them. I don't know if this is his last year in the NFL. I don't think it is. I just think it might be his last year in Green Bay unless they get him some weapons around him. But he might request a trade or something this offseason and go somewhere where he can try to win a Super Bowl with some good weapons.
Yeah, you know what's funny? You mentioned the Devontae Adams thing. You want to talk about a trade that netted somebody – neither team zero, Devontae Adams to the Ravens, and whatever Green Bay got, that was the worst trade ever.
I wish he went to the Ravens.
Oh, excuse me, the Raiders. It was the worst trade ever. Like nobody got anything from that trade.
Yeah, pretty bad trade for both sides.
So we're about to wrap it up with Rick on the NFC East. I forgot to make a comment. So Tony, when you were talking about the Bills, you said Jake the Snake. Now I know Jake Podger looks like
I
Josh
caught
Allen,
that. I didn't say anything.
I caught it, and I call Jake Josh all the time. So you were referring to Josh the Snake, but you call him
Yes,
Jake
I
the
did.
Snake.
I made the mistake.
Boys,
Listen, calling him Jake.
How do we know he wasn't talking about
appreciate
Jake?
that.
How do we know he wasn't talking about Jake Plummer?
Oh yeah.
Great name, man.
All right, let's bring it home for us, Rick, here with the NFC East, only undefeated team. I want you to tell me if they can run the board while you talk about this division.
Nah, they're not going to run the board, but they will win this division. They are very, very good at football. Philadelphia Eagles somehow did something this offseason. I don't know if it was just the A.J. Brown move. I'm not really sure if Jalen Hurts is that guy that took that next step, but he is not the same quarterback he was last year. Last year, his favorite play was fake the handoff, roll out right, and throw it out of bounds. That was his play last year. He does not do that anymore. He actually stays in the pocket, moves up, climbs the ladder in the pocket, makes good decisions with the ball. Like he obviously has A.J. Brown, good receiving core. Dallas Goedert's probably his favorite target. But this team is really, really good. They had a really good draft. They built up the defensive side of the ball. Darius Slay is playing like old Darius Slay. Like I've never seen, he's playing like phenomenal football right now. So the Eagles will win this division. The Cowboys can give them a run for their money. They do still have a game against them. So if they win that game, I believe that game is in Dallas. I can't remember if that game's in Dallas or Philly, but if they do win that game, maybe it might be a little bit of a threat. But one team that is not a threat in this division is the New York Giants at 6-2. By PFF, they are one of the worst teams in the NFL. They are a fraudulent 6-2 team. I really doubt they even make the playoffs at this point. I think the Commanders might be better than them. I know that's a lot to say for a team that beat the Ravens, but they are not a good football team. They just got Xavier McKinney just got hurt. Partying it up in Cabo or wherever the heck he was in Mexico. So that's a big loss for them. And I just don't think they're a good football team. I think they're going to get exposed coming down the stretch. They have 2 games against the Eagles. I think they're going to get smoked in both of those games. They still have a game against the Cowboys, which they'll lose, and the game against the Vikings, which they'll lose. So I think that's 4 losses on the board there. Can they squeeze out a couple more wins? Maybe. We'll see. I think it's going to come down to how they play those 2 games against the Commanders. If they sweep the Commanders, then maybe they'll sneak into a playoff spot. If they lose both, I think they're done for the year. But yeah, I mean that's just how I feel about the Giants in this division. It's the Eagles' division to lose. The Cowboys. They look okay. They have for being the Cowboys, they're looking better, I would say, than they usually do in the regular season. But they're one of those teams that will go to the playoffs and lose every time. They have an idiot for a head coach, and I mean, unless they actually make a conscious decision here to play Tony Pollard every game at starting running back instead of Zeke, then I don't think they will do that. But if they do that, then maybe they can win some playoff games because Tony Pollard is way better than Zeke. But I think Dallas will definitely get in the playoffs as a wild card. Now, what they'll do in the playoffs, I'm not really sure. We'll see what happens, but I think this division is the Eagles to lose. I think they're one of the best teams in football. I think they're going to make the NFC Championship game. We'll see what happens at that point, but my pick is the Eagles for sure. I know that's kind of chalky to say that, but I just don't see I definitely don't see the Giants or Commanders challenging them for it, but the Cowboys, we'll see what happens in their matchup, and I think they play in a few weeks. But that's it. I have -450. I would not bet that. I mean, if anything, I would bet the Cowboys at +400 just because it seems like decent value for a team that's only 2 games back with a game still against the division leader. So if I was to make a bet, it would be the Cowboys, but I just don't think the Cowboys are going to be able to climb up ahead against the Eagles, especially already losing to them once this year.
Yeah, I don't think anyone disagreed with anything you said, but I did want to ask Chris about the Cowboys. I mean, Dak's just coming back. He's only been back a couple weeks now, and their defense is playing lights out, just like the Eagles. If you look at the points against, 135 for the Eagle, 133 for the Cowboys. Do you give the Cowboys a good chance to be able to overtake the Eagles, or what's your thought on that?
I think that line's about right, and Rick said it right. I'm not betting the Eagles at -450 to win the division. If I can bet the Titans -400, it makes no sense. But the Cowboys, there's a lot to be said with the way they're playing. Arguably the best defensive player in football, Micah Parsons right now. Guy's an absolute animal. And Dak's coming back. CeeDee Lamb's playing better than we thought this year. And Tony Pollard's absolute stud. So the more they get him on the field, get him the ball in space, Michael Gallup's back from injury now. I just think they have a lot of things going for them. I don't think this is a runaway. This will go down to the last 2 weeks.
But the thing is like the Cowboys, they always look like they have something going for them, and they make the playoffs every year, and then they just blow it. And I don't know if that's just a Cowboys thing, but like I don't know. I mean, I would love to hear what Jake's thoughts are about the Cowboys, but I just don't think they're a good playoff team. They kind of remind me of the Ravens a little bit, where they're a good like regular season team, make the playoffs, and then just kind of blow it in the playoffs.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. I mean, they show out. They'll go 13-3 in the regular season, and they lose in the wild card round or divisional round or whatever it may be. And it's like, I don't know what it is, man. They can't get over that hump. They haven't won a meaningful playoff game, like a big time playoff game in years, like since they've gone to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, over 20 years.
Yeah, I mean 1995, I think, right?
Yeah.
Or something like that. Yeah, I mean it's ridiculous, right? So I don't know. Mike McCarthy, I don't think he's the guy either as the coach there. And listen, he had his moments. He won a Super Bowl in Green Bay. He got carried by Aaron Rodgers. He's got a good, talented team in Dallas. And that defense, as you guys mentioned, I mean, it's good. They got some dogs on that defense with DeMarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons. I mean, they're loaded. Trayvon Diggs, Stefan's brother. But I still think it's going to be one of those things. They're always going to be a bridesmaid for whatever reason. They're not going to figure it out. And man, do I want to see a Bills-Eagles Super Bowl. I'll tell you this, there's not enough beer in the United States to take care of these two degenerate fan bases. I want to see it. We need it. The world needs it. The U.S. needs it. And I'll tell you this, like it sucks because it's like such an easy way out, if you will. I mean, the Eagles are 8-0. The Bills are the top in the AFC right now. But man, wouldn't it be fun to watch? I mean, that would be pretty cool. So that's all I'm going to leave you with. I think the NFC East is a clear-cut favorite for the Eagles. I mean, there's no chance they're losing that division. They just look good. They really do, and they're not frauds. I really, like a lot of people have said, hey, they have an easy schedule. They beat the Vikings in week 2, absolutely dominated them. And obviously they played some teams that aren't like great, but their record's better than what they really have produced. So I don't know, man. I think the Eagles are going to win that handily for sure. And just real quick, I did want to elaborate a little bit on why I picked the Seahawks from the NFC West. Kenneth Walker, man, what a stud. Tariq Woolen playing out of his mind. Those two rookies right there have been huge difference makers for that Seahawks team. So I just feel like they got two really good receivers in DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. So I feel like they're just going to ride that train all the way through. I don't think they're going to go far in the playoffs, but I think they're going to win that division. So that was my reasoning behind that. I meant to elaborate on that, but I'm going to leave it at that. And anyways, Bills-Eagles Super Bowl. That's my prediction.
Good stuff. So, all right, Tony, your NFC champion and your one wildcard team.
I think it's the Eagles or nobody right now. I do think the Eagles are going to lose this week. Washington Commanders, bet it, bet the points, take the money line.
No
I think the Commanders win that game this week. I just got a feeling. I'm betting both the money line and betting the spread at +11. But they're, to me, the clear-cut class in the NFC. The NFC is trash compared to the AFC. Like, it's so much worse than what the AFC is. And we talked about how bad the AFC is in certain spots. But it's the Eagles. If I was to pick a wild card team, a shot in the dark team, it would be the Giants. I think the Giants, just because they have divisional games, and I get it, like they're a fraud team like the Minnesota Vikings are. I get it. But if I was going to take a wild stab, it would be them.
All right, sounds good. Let me go up to Rick, your NFC champ and your wildcard team.
I'll start off with my NFC champ, and it's going to be a little bit of surprise to you guys. I think this team can get it together down the stretch. We've seen them be one play away from the Super Bowl last year, and my pick to win the NFC this year is going to be the San Francisco 49ers. I think CMC is a huge addition to that offense. With CMC and Debo fully healthy, I think that offense is going to be humming, and their defense is going to play well down the stretch as well. I think they're going to overtake the Seahawks eventually. Win that division, and I think it's going to end up being an Eagles 49ers NFC Championship game, and I think the 49ers are going to get a little bit of good karma go their way this year, and they're going to make the Super Bowl in the NFC. So I'm going to pick a Chiefs 49ers Super Bowl repeat of a couple of years ago, and I think it might be the 49ers time. I think they I don't want to say the injury to Trey Lance was a blessing in disguise, but I think it was a blessing in disguise. I think he wasn't playing the greatest football, and I don't think Trey Lance could have taken him to the Super Bowl, but I think Jimmy G's experience in the playoffs, I think what he's done in the past, I think it's enough for them to, get there. So I think they're going to be my pick to make the Super Bowl in the NFC. And my sneaky team in the NFC, the wildcard team that I really do think is not a fraudulent team, is the Seattle Seahawks. I think they are a good football team. Their defense is phenomenal, and like Jake said, with Kenneth Walker, he's absolute stud. Geno Smith is, I think I saw it this morning, I think he's 4th or 5th in MVP odds in the NFL, which is unreal.
Comeback player of the year, at least, I would say,
yeah,
right? I mean,
definitely. Yeah, definitely
Dude,
come
the
back.
Seahawks fully fleeced Denver in that trade. You want to talk about somebody got juiced?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love how petty Pete Carroll is still with Russell Wilson. It's hilarious. I don't know if you tuned in, but the wristband thing is incredible.
It turns out Pete Carroll just needs to coach rookies or guys in their first or second year. Like, you get anybody with any experience or veterans, they don't listen to him. But you get kids right out of college, Pete Carroll can take those guys to the moon.
And that tells you, I mean, that's Pete Carroll, right? I mean, he was amazing in USC. He was a great college coach. He won national championships in USC. So we know the kids like to listen to him. And I will say that I was wrong about Pete Carroll at the beginning of the year. I thought he was the problem in Seattle. I thought he should have been fired and Russell Wilson should have stayed. But it seems like I was wrong, and it looks like Pete Carroll is doing a great job. I think he's a leading candidate, one of the leading candidates for Coach of the Year. And they are my sneaky team. I think Seattle will make the playoffs, not as a division winner. I think the 49ers are going to take them over. I think they'll make it as a wild card, and I think they could win a playoff game. I think they could go into Minnesota and beat Minnesota if it comes down to that in the playoffs.
I have a question real quick, guys, and I'll let you guys all talk about this, but are the Rams the most disappointing Super Bowl team, following their Super Bowl year? Are they the most disappointing team coming off a Super Bowl win?
They're terrible. They're objectively terrible. You know what's funny about this? Again, this is a recurring theme, like what we talked about, quarterback play. I'll give you 4 quarterbacks: Matthew Stafford, Kyler Murray, Geno Smith, and Jimmy G. Rank them 1 to 4, and it's the total reverse order that anybody would have ever ranked that division. But yeah, I don't know, dude. I am surprised how far they've fallen. They can't do anything except throw to Cooper Kupp. If he doesn't score 4 touchdowns a game, they have no offense, and it blows me away. Don't get me wrong; losing Higbee's a huge deal, but I don't understand how they went from one of the most dynamic offenses to one of the most one-dimensional.
Chris,
Yeah.
Okay, so Rick, you stole my thunder there. I'm picking 49ers. To go to the Super Bowl, and this was like a slam dunk selection for me. And I think the Vegas odds are telling you this. They're a game and a half back of first, and they're the favorites to win the division, and they have a harder schedule than the Seahawks. That just screams everything you need to know about that team. Just think about it. The math just doesn't work out. They're just locked and loaded. Kyle Shanahan, DeMeco Ryans, that he has that defense absolutely humming. They rush 4 every play, which is a huge benefit. We keep those defenders back and still get pressure on the quarterback. Addition of Christian McCaffrey. Debo's going to come back healthy this week. Brandon Ayuk's having his best season ever. George Kittle's finally healthy, fingers crossed. I think they're a well-coached team. Their defense is outstanding. Jimmy G's been there before. He's done it before. I think they're the favorites. I mean, I like them more than the Eagles.
Put some respect on Fred Warner's name, Tony, right?
Yeah, he's amazing.
Beast.
Who's your wildcard team, Chris?
Fred Warner from San Diego. He is a stud. He is, again, you can throw Milano, you can throw names out there. He, to me, is the best linebacker in the defense for how they use him. He just goes out there and makes plays.
Yep. So my wild card team, it feels weird calling them a wild card because they're second in the division right now, but I think no one's taking them seriously, and I would like to take them seriously, is the Vikings. I think they're a well-coached team. I think Kirk Cousins, me and Rick have said this for 3 years now, Kirk Cousins is, people just think he's absolute doo-doo, and he's actually not. I think he's a top 12 quarterback in the NFL. I'll just say it right here. He has Justin Jefferson, who's the best receiver in the NFL, most likely. Dalvin Cook's rolling again. I just don't see how everyone's looking at a 7-1 team saying they're absolute trash. Would I put my money that I think they're going to go to the NFC Championship game? Probably not. But I think everyone's thinking they're just like the fourth or fifth best team in the NFC, and that's not true.
You took the definition of wild card to a different level because
It was like
they are not going to be the wild card team. They're going to win their division.
They are going to win the division.
But it's all right.
Sorry.
I understand.
Sorry,
I
I thought you meant
where
wild
you're
card to win the
I get it.
win the conference.
That's how I took it too, because that's why I mentioned Seattle, and I'm like, they're going to win that division, but they're like that wild card team, right?
One
It's
one
gonna,
thing,
like, somehow-
Chris, one thing I will say about the Vikings is that they're a very, very, very good home team, and if you take them away from Minnesota, they are pedestrian at best. I think they're not going to be able to win. They might win their first game because it's probably going to be a home game in the playoffs, but if they have to go on the road after that, I just don't think they're going to win a road game in the playoffs.
If they get the 2 seed, you never know. I mean,
Yeah.
they could get the 1 seed. I mean, the Eagles have a lot of tough games, right? They have to play Dallas. They have to play the Giants. I mean, you never know.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Tennessee from last year. Tennessee was the 1 seed in the AFC last year, and no one cared. Like, it was just like, oh, they just snuck their way in there. I mean, Minnesota could do the same thing where they just coast to a 1 seed. They have home games the whole. It's tough to win on the road in the playoffs. You never know.
If Minnesota is the 1 seed and they have home games for the rest of the playoffs, then I might be like, okay, they might be a little bit of a threat because they're really good in Minnesota.
The only thing I worry about Minnesota is they have won so many super close games by like the thinnest of margins.
It's because
like,
Kirk Cousins is a beast.
It's just it feels like it's got to return to the mean at some point in time, and they're going to lose some of those games. I can't see them luck bagging their way into 14-3. Like I can't.
Yeah. Chris is obviously very sick. I mean, he's calling Kirk Cousins a beast. And I will say this: I watched the show where they had somebody,
And the Broncos might make the playoffs.
yeah, they had somebody who covers the Vikings, and that guy said that they're really kind of a 5-3 team, kind of like what you said, Tony. They got lucky with a couple games, but yeah. So go over to Jake.
Kyle Brandt had Kirk Cousins as his preseason MVP, and this is a self-proclaimed like adopted Bills fan. So he may know something that we don't. And listen, as a newfound dad, I've been a dad for over a year now. I strive to be Kirk Cousins, man. I mean, that guy. You see him on the plane last week? Unbelievable. I love to see it. I mean, he was there. He was in the moment. Everyone loved it. His teammates loved it. All the chains on him and everything like that. That's what I want to be right there.
The biggest difference in that team is the coaching staff. They went from,
yes.
I mean, inarguably
Absolutely.
one of the worst head coaches in football to a guy who might be the next really, really good head coach in football.
That's absolutely true.
Agreed. Yeah.
All right, Jake, give us your NFC champ and a wild card team. Not a wild card. I want a true wild card team.
Okay.
By the
That's fair.
definition of the NFL wild card team.
Yeah, well, and this is just me really being wishful here, but I really do think the Eagles are just very dominant. So they're my NFC champ. And as far as a wild card team goes, this is really tricky because there's 4 good teams in the NFC, and then everyone else sucks. I mean, really, like it's hard to pick a team like this, but oh man. And this is going to be like a 7-seed wild card in my opinion, and I think it's just going to be one of those things where this team finds a way to get in. And it's going to be that other team that a lot of people thought was going to be one of the worst teams in the league. I think Atlanta somehow gets that 7th seed. I don't know how it's going to happen, but they're going to do it. Arthur Smith has that team firing. Cordero Patterson's back. That defense can be a little sneaky at times. That offense, I don't know what the hell Marcus Mariota's doing. Throws for 129 yards a game. Finds a way to get it done. He's just a gamer. So something about it. Kyle Pitts starting to come along too, and Drake London, very good rookie receiver. I'm gonna say the Falcons somehow sneak into that 7th spot. It's gonna be crazy.
All right, I'm gonna go with the easy route here. I'm gonna go with the Eagles as my NFC pick, and the wild card. I'm gonna say Seahawks. I do think the Niners will overtake them, but I think they'll get in as a wild card team. So real quick, guys, I've been a horrible moderator keeping you on schedule. But let's go. I want a 10-second. Tell me who wins the Super Bowl. Mr. Tony Altieri, give me your Super Bowl winner.
Ooh, it's hard to pick against the Chiefs. The only other team, again, and I will say it, I think the winner comes from the AFC. The Bills, I think, are going to have to go into Kansas City. That's been absolutely a dagger for them in the playoffs. So I can't see them getting past them. I think it's Chiefs or Ravens, and just because I want to bet the odds because they're better, I'm going to say Ravens. This is not a nod to Rick or to Chris. I literally think if they have the easiest schedule, if they can get the 1 seed and get a home run all the way through the playoffs, I think they have a legitimate chance, and I love how they stack up against the Eagles. When you look at them position group versus position group, Lamar does the best things that Jalen Hurts does, only better. So I'm going with the Ravens.
All right, Rick.
Well, how do I follow that? I hope it's the Ravens. I'm going to take the 49ers to get some revenge on the Chiefs from a couple of years ago. They're going to play the Chiefs in the Super Bowl again, and they're going to come out victorious. Christian McCaffrey is going to get that ring. Kyle Shanahan's going to get that monkey off of his back and finally get a ring. And I think the 49ers are going to get the job done this year.
All right, Chris.
Rematch of 2013 Super Bowl, Ravens 49ers. Ravens squeak it out 17-16.
All right, Jake.
I mean, guys, I listen. I promised everyone in the Discord I would go all in for the Bills, and I got to take my Bills. I think this is the time we take the monkey off our back. Josh Allen's going to be fully healthy. Guy threw a 7. By the way, he threw the longest pass in NFL history in air yards for next gen stats, for the next gen stats lovers. 69.3 yards, nice. In the air to Gabe Davis on a freaking rope, right on his chest plate. And we're talking a totally different story. I know. Listen, we're talking a different story. He makes that catch. Gabe Davis made a sick catch against the Chiefs. I think he gets revenge against the Chiefs in the AFC divisional round. And I guess who we're playing in the AFC championship? Those Baltimore Ravens. We're going to stomp them. It's going to be a good one. I think the final score, it's going to be a little bit lower scoring, maybe 20-14. It's going to be a one-score game. Bills pull it out, and then we're going playing the Eagles in the Super Bowl. There's not going to be enough beer in the country to supply both of those fan bases, and we're going to win handily. That's the only team in the NFC East that we haven't played in the Super Bowl, and it's time we finally win our first. So the Bills are taking it, boys. I am so pumped, and I cannot wait, and I hope you all come to the parade in Buffalo because it's going to be like 3 months long. It's going to be wild.
Well, I'm going to finish up. I already said the Ravens win the AFC. I think it is the Bills and the Ravens in the AFC Championship this year. Of course, you know where my heart is. I would say Buffalo all day, but I took the jersey off. I'm going to go with, because of the concerns with Josh Allen right now, because of the concerns with all the injuries. Look at our injury report right now. I mean, it is massive. I'm going to take it. I'm going to have the Ravens win it. I think whoever's in the AFC wins it by far. Anyhow.
Yeah, a lot of love for the Ravens on this chat.
You know?
I know. I didn't,
Mike, you told me that I was
going this way. Yeah.
Our number 2 receiver is Deshaun Jackson, guys. Let's pump the brakes.
Hey, they're going to get Odell Beckham. You watch. He's going there or to the Miami Dolphins. One of the two. He's going to end up in one of those two spaces. Those two places.
Wow. Well, Jerry Jones showed him some love. Rick, you know I hate Odell Beckham probably more than any player in the NFL, and
I want him.
I will take him open arms, both arms.
He's coming to Buffalo. He's coming to Buffalo.
Let's go. I hate that man, but we're in dire situation right now.
Yeah.
So
I don't like him either, and we can't trade for anybody. So I think I would love him on the team.
He's in a great position right now. Look at the Bills are struggling on offense. We want him. Your Ravens really need him.
Bills are not struggling on offense.
No.
For us, this is weird.
This is a struggle.
You guys had one bad game. Relax,
guys. I just looked up a game that we lost 6-3 back in like 2008 against the Browns. Derek Anderson threw for 23 yards, and they won that game against us. And here we are complaining about our offense. Isn't this nuts? What the hell? What happened to us?
I bet them with Case Keenum -3.5 this week. That's how much
I
they
love that.
have.
I'll take the Bills all day against the Vikings this week. I don't care who's playing quarterback.
Revenge game, baby.
So, Jake, it's a little reverse psychology for me. Just know that. You know where my heart is.
Because you were getting on me, Mike, about siding with the Ravens and taking them on the schedule release and all that, you know.
I got a little 10-year-old that's going to see this, and he's going to love his dad that much more. But he knows who his dad truly wants to win and thinks will win, but can't say it right now. You're not going to.
One thing you guys got to fix is your run defense. Your run defense looks
yes, for sure.
Guys.
For sure. Well, Jake's going to be, he's coming into town. He's going to help out with that. He's got all this knowledge. They've invited him to the stadium. He only works, I'm telling you guys, this guy works 5 minutes from the stadium, walking distance. He can come out of his workplace, walk over to the stadium, help them out.
And for all you fans out there, if the Ravens and Bills do play in the AFC Championship game in Buffalo, me, Chris, Mike, we're all going to be there. Promise.
Oh, absolutely.
I'll be watching it on TV in my house where it's nice and warm.
We'll be wearing jerseys. We'll be wearing jerseys.
Yeah, we'll be wearing jerseys,
I'll send
man.
you guys 4 of my old jerseys, and you can wear them to the game.
We
I would
almost
do that.
We have to do a live stream in the parking lot, right? As we're tailgating,
100%.
we have to.
100%.
I just want to be in Jake's basement right there.
Dude, come on down. Listen, I got 2
After
couches.
party.
You can't see them. Yeah. I got all the bourbon you could think of, too. I got like 70 bottles over there, so we're ready to go, guys.
70 bottles. What do you have more, bourbon or jerseys?
I think I'm actually leading in jerseys somehow, but yes.
That sounds like a good name for a podcast, Bourbon and Jerseys. Like, that's a
You
good
know?
name.
I mean, shoot, man.
BJ's, yeah.
So, Tony, that's not the first time.
BJ.
Oh wow, that's good. I like that. My good buddy says the same thing. He's like, dude, you're such a beta. You wear all these other dudes' jerseys, and I'm like, no, listen, I'm just support. Like, they're like, no, you look like that. Like, you ever see the Drake meme? It's like him at a Kentucky game, and he looks like that girlfriend supporting every single player on that team. That's me, you know. So I hear where you're coming from on that. My buddy's already told me it. He's already gotten on me about it, but. You know, I just collected them my whole life, so.
All right, guys. We're at 1 hour and 30. I got to stop it here. Thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. First time ever for us. You know, we emptied the backfield, went 5 wide. It was a fantastic show. I hope we do it again. But check out all our shows. You got Tony and Rick. They do the 5 and 6 golf show. They have, you actually had a show on Monday. Join our Discord channel. It's in the description of the show. Join it because Rick and Tony will give you a lot of information if you're interested in DraftKings golf or just betting golf in general. And they put additional information that they don't have on their show on the Discord. And then you got Rick and Chris giving you some of the best fantasy football. Another reason to join our Discord. You don't have to wait for them to go live each week. Just go to the Discord, ask your questions there. And, of course, the real reason you want to join the Discord is for the Buffalo Bills thread that we got going on there. Get on over, talk to us. It's so much fun, so I highly recommend the Discord. So thank all of you. Thank those folks that are in the channel. If you're new to the channel, please like, comment, and drop a nickel on that subscribe button. We love Jules Marie. She's a big supporter of the channel. Absolutely love her. So thank you, Jules. And we'll see everybody soon. Go Bills.
Go Bills, guys.
Go Ravens.
They can't lose this week. We're on bye.
That's right. You always win the bye.